Well, we start.
Uh-huh.
I'll do a brief introduction.
Mm-hmm.
So we speak English,
Yeah, right.
just so I can think in
Yeah.
English.
Yeah, I also have to start thinking in
Yeah.
English.
So I always start with a brief intro about my channel, just so to get
Mm.
people up to
Mm.
speed about what I'm doing here, and then we get to do this conversation. It's always a chat
Mm-hmm.
about what you're doing. This is actually a bit different because I have a purpose in terms of my mental health and my
Mm-hmm.
pursuit and
Okay.
things
Mm-hmm.
as such. So and let's see how it goes because I
Yeah.
didn't practice.
Right. So go ahead.
Right. So hello everyone. This is Carlos for the Evolve channel. Today I have a special guest, Richard.
Mm-hmm.
What's the last name?
Robertson.
Richard Robertson. He's a professor in Transcendental Meditation. The reason why I decided to interview him and his wife, which I'm going to be sharing the interview in Portuguese later on as well, is because I have I wanted to share. A lot of people don't know I have gone under like a stress crisis lately, and I've been looking for tools to help me overcome this. So I came across the practice of transcendental meditation, reading a book by Ray Dalio, and then I found this what we call
Center.
center, like chapter in Brazil, here at Vila Madalena. And Richard has been doing this for over 40 years. We're going to get a brief introduction on his life, and we're going to be talking about his wife as well. And so, Richard, thank you very much for making time for this. As I said, this is it's something that I've been. It's really new to me, and yeah, I wanted to get to know a little bit about your life. Just a brief intro, and we get into TM,
Mm-hmm.
the benefits, how you came across, speak a bit about Marishi as well. So, please introduce yourself.
Okay. So yes. Now I am from Trinidad and Tobago. I'm not from Brazil,
Right.
but our organization is an international organization. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the founder of Transcendental Meditation, came from India.
Mm-hmm.
Maharishi was a physicist, but like everyone else, when he was quite young, he was looking for something deeper,
Right.
and being, since he was born in India, he started looking into the old traditions of India,
Mm-hmm.
and he discovered transcendental meditation. Now, in his case, Maharishi's, when he discovered this program in the 40s, he spent 13 years, with his teacher in the Himalayas, studying the system. And he felt that it was something so valuable that he decided to teach this technique, to everyone, and he started first in India and Asia, and it became so popular that quickly it spread throughout the world,
Mm-hmm.
And I myself didn't have to go to India to learn transcendental
Right.
meditation. Maharishi brought transcendental meditation to me,
Mm-hmm.
because Maharishi made about 10 trips around the world,
Perfect.
creating the organization
Mm-hmm.
which is responsible for this, for the teaching of this technique. And now we have centers of transcendental meditation in all the continents, and in more than 190 cities of the world, major cities of
Yeah.
the world, major capitals
Yeah.
of the world. And here in Brazil, I happened to come here because also of Maharishi. I was teaching transcendental meditation. I'm a teacher for 43 years. After I learned the technique in my country, where we had also a center of transcendental meditation, that was in the 70s. I got very enthusiastic about the whole thing because I was quite young and I felt that, this thing was really something that brought to me a lot of benefits. I
Mm-hmm.
felt so balance, after learning the technique. It brought so much more energy and, clear, my awareness as a whole, I found, was much more, was broad, much more broad, than before, the way I looked at things and so on. And I felt I should find out something more about this program. So I did a course for teachers,
Right.
This is something that Maharishi created so that he could spread the technique more easily throughout the world. And so I did this course, and then I started working with the organization on an international level. So I came to Brazil in '85 because I was in the Philippines. And Maharishi not only introduced Transcendental Meditation, Maharishi introduced several sciences from the Vedic tradition, one of them being Ayurveda, which is a system of natural medicine that is very well known and today is practiced, globally. It's becoming more and more known. And this occurred mainly due to the efforts that Maharishi made when he started bringing experts of Ayurveda from India to many countries to train people. And when I came to Brazil, I was teaching in the Philippines, in Manila. And Maharishi felt that the people from the Latin American and Caribbean area should come to help with these big projects that were occurring, in South America. So I came to Brazil and I met Maharishi in Brasilia.
All right.
And he was there with a lot of scientists. And we started a very big project of Ayurveda in Brazil. So, that's just to make a long story short, how I arrived here. And then afterwards, I continued, teaching in many other countries after spending a few years in Brazil, and then returned. So I'm back here now in Brazil, along with my wife, Janine, who is Brazilian. We have a center in Sao Paulo.
Right.
So we continue to teach Transcendental Meditation here.
Very nice. I mean, I've been practicing now for about a week, maybe 10 days or so, that I've learned the technology, and I mean, this is something that we do for life, right? So it's nonstop, and I can definitely feel more clarity some days. It's still like sometimes a combat, like the thoughts and the mantra and so on. But I would really like you to explain what are the benefits of transcendental meditation, because as I was reading, I mean, this was a technique that apparently was spread, around the world. It became really popular in the 60s, but over time, it seems like now we have over 300 types of different meditations, right? And so I think there's a lot of probably skepticism from especially millennials and the younger generations when they hear about TM, or they even maybe they don't have the knowledge. Or so it would be nice to hear from you, what are the benefits of getting into this practice and talking a little bit
Right.
about
Yeah, well, good.
consciousness.
Good. Now, as you know, I've been meditating for 46 years. And apart from just meditating, I've had the fortune of teaching, more than 5,000 people myself personally in many countries. I've lived in Africa for about 9 years, teaching in several countries. I've taught people in Europe because we have a university in Holland, and I've been there many times, to visit the center there and to have some meetings with Maharishi. And also I've been to the United States, where we have, a university. And in the Caribbean islands, I'm from the Caribbean islands, I've taught in several countries. So I've taught people who have learned, in the past, many different types of meditation. And the effect of transcendental meditation, I've always seen that the effect of transcendental meditation for them was something completely different. Meditation as a whole, when we think of meditation, we think of something on the level of consciousness. We think meditate, if you look in the dictionary, it means to think. And people consider, several types of, there are several types of meditation. And they are all quite different, When people think of meditation, normally they think of systems of concentration or contemplation. Now, when we think of concentration or contemplation, what we are doing is we are fixing the attention on something. It means that you have something to do with meaning. The mind is on the surface thinking about something or focusing on something specific.
Right.
Now, the difference with transcendental meditation that really makes it completely distinct from other systems of meditation is that we don't focus attention. Maharishi introduced a technique. He did not invent the technique. He just created the organization. He actually, this technique is a very ancient technique that he said was lost in India to the public as a whole. And when he came and he started teaching transcendental meditation, he saw that people did not know how to experience the transcendent, how to let the mind go and allow the attention to go to this level of consciousness, which is beyond the relative limited states, and this created a big impact. The simplicity of it, it was so natural that then thousands and thousands of people started the technique of transcendental meditation. All these systems that we see today that exist, they are more, we are more aware of them because of the technology of today. We have internet and so on, but they always existed.
Right.
This technique is a very, very ancient technique to allow the individual to experience the source from where all the thoughts come. And it's very interesting that, many scientists have become very enthusiastic over Maharishi's program, because what they understand is that what Maharishi is teaching is a way to let consciousness go back towards this underlying unified field, as the physicists call it, that is at the basis of all of nature. And the advantages of understanding and using nature's the power of nature from the deeper levels. We know from all the developments we have made, in technologies today and so on. Just knowing, for instance, that there exists electromagnetic field. Now we have electricity, we have all these systems of communication, internet, GPS, all these things that have created a change, in terms of how we think and how we perceive the world. So if we can go deeper than this, then we begin to use more of our inner potential, which is the potential of nature, because we are part of nature. So what Maharishi really did, Maharishi introduced a technology of consciousness that allows anyone to use to develop his full potential. The psychologists tell us we use 5-10% of our mental potential, and because of that, naturally we have a beautiful world, but it could be much more beautiful if everybody was thinking in a broader way. Perfect. And this is what transcendental meditation does. It opens consciousness. So you feel this effect in your personal life. You begin to find, things seem to be happening in a way that in a much more harmonious way. A lot of developments that you would like to happen more easily, and so on. But this could happen on a global level, and Maharishi did a tremendous job in 50 years creating this organization, leaving a foundation. He passed away in 2008. And he left an organization for us with a technology that we can now apply, in a very broad way if we would like, And I think this is a big hope for the world, that we have something that could improve our level of consciousness. It also can improve the quality of our life, our health, and everything could become much more balanced if we are thinking and acting more in accordance with the laws of nature spontaneously. So this is a technology of consciousness that Maharishi has revived, and created an organization to facilitate anyone in any part of the world to enjoy.
I have 2 final questions. Let me just confirm here. All good. The question I have for you then is like, unified consciousness, and let's talk about technology, this explosion of technology that we have today. The day I came here for the first time, we were like 3 or 4 people. except apart from me, all of them were under medication. They were sharing. People were sharing. I'm under medication. It's hard for me to. There is some addiction and so on, so it's really hard for me to get rid of it. And I would like you to share how a TM can enable and eventually help people, if you've probably seen it over the years, to leave medication and this sort of addictions, and like medications as in what do you call tropics, maybe.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. These type of psychosomatic diseases.
Psychosomatics, yes, perfect.
Now the thing is that 90% of the diseases that we have today, the doctors tell us are psychosomatic because of the accumulation of stress.
Perfect.
Now, naturally, if somebody is not feeling well, they should go to the doctor. The doctor knows, well, okay, you're having some problem here and some problem there, you're not sleeping well, you have some anxiety, you have some high blood pressure and so on. And he will give you some medicine that will allow you to diminish a little bit the symptoms so that you can function, in your daily activities. But naturally, if someone continues taking medication, and the doctors know this, there are a lot of side effects. And it's better if somebody could do something apart from taking medicines if they have some problems, so that the system can come back to a normal state. And what the doctors always say is that you should rest because you are really a bit, a little out of balance. And people naturally try to get some rest, but no one can take holidays forever. They have to go to work and they have to do everything that they need to do. So people get back into this vicious circle of accumulating more stress in their daily lives, and then eventually, unfortunately, suffer from a lot of these psychosomatic illnesses. Now, when we practice transcendental meditation, what happens? For the 20 minutes that we do it twice per day, 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening. The mental activity settles down. And because mind and body are interconnected, the physical activity also settles down. The person then begins to rest, even though he's not sleeping, he's not lying down, he's sitting and he's alert. The whole system goes to a very, very, very profound state of rest. Now, when the mind is going to these fine and finer levels, the mind is actually leaving the boundaries, and then there is an expansion at the mental level. Now, the body at this time begins to get rid of impurities, that have accumulated, from childbirth, right up to the time the person is,
Which is
stress accumulated on the system that he accommodated. He just, he couldn't get rid of this stress, So then a lot of these problems come and so on. But when now the person does this technique twice per day for 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening, then by nature, the system starts getting rid of this accumulated stress. And immediately in the first week, the person begins to feel more light, more clear in the thinking, more energy, and so on. So that's a sign, sleeping better at night and so on, because the system is getting rid of these knots, that have been there, that he has been living with for so many years. And naturally, the health of the person improves. So then the doctor now, when he goes to the doctor begins to notice that you are really improving. So then he begins to reduce the medication, and then eventually, you don't have to take the medication anymore, because the medication was just so that you could have sufficient balance so that you can function normally, in your daily activities. But now that you meditate regularly, you find more and more that the system becomes balanced enough so that you don't need to take medication, and you sleep better, and your whole life becomes more healthy, because of the fact that the meditation gets rid of this accumulated stress in the system.
Very nice. Final question. Where do you see TM moving forward 5 years from now?
Yes, now what I have seen, of course, there are so many different systems of meditation, as you have said, which have good effects. Meditation is just like exercise. In some way, it's a mental sort of exercise. But people are now looking more deeply because we have now a lot of researchers, scientific researchers. Then what does this technique bring? What does the other one bring? And so on. So there's no harm in someone doing whatever type of meditation practice. It might even be a devotional practice that he would like to do. But more and more people will gravitate towards this technique because it's quite clear. You can see from the scientific researches, anyone can look now in the internet, and they will see that this technique brings a very, very profound effect for the health of the individual. It develops consciousness. You can see the distinction between the frequency of the brain waves when someone is sleeping, when someone is dreaming, when someone is in the waking state of consciousness, and when one is practicing this technique, that there is a completely different experience that you have when you practice transcendental meditation. You experience a fourth state of consciousness, which was known for thousands of years to exist, from all the ancient sages in the past spoke of it, that when one sits and closes the eyes and transcends, one experiences a state of balance, which was called in the Vedic tradition samadhi. Now we can see with the scientific researches that this is a reality, that you have a complete change in the frequency of brain activity when you practice transcendental meditation, which brings to the other three states of consciousness, waking, dreaming, and sleeping, balance.
Right.
You sleep better, you get up in the morning, you feel more fresh, you have a completely different day when the system is more in balance. And this is what transcendental meditation does. It gives you an experience of that pure state of consciousness, which is at the basis of the other three states of consciousness. So then someone now begins to experience that transcendental state, which before was not available, because it was transcendental, when you practice this technique. And it brings a very, very beautiful experience of bliss, because the whole system settles down, and the mind, the emotions, the senses, everything, all your channels of perception go back to that state of balance. And then it brings for the person an experience of bliss, of inner happiness. And this inner happiness grows more and more with the practice, and you begin to reflect that, outside in activity. So then your relationships, everything becomes better, because within you are much more in balance after you practice this technique. So it done every day, twice per day. It's a very beautiful exercise. The person then begins to enjoy their life much more than before.
Perfect. Richard, thanks very much. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, so it was nice talking to you, and
Absolutely.
anytime, we can always have a chat the next time you're in Brazil.
Cool.
And
Appreciate it.
and whatever else we can do. We are teachers here for quite a long time, and thousands of people are learning here in Brazil transcendental meditation, as in the other countries of Latin America. And we have big projects in schools, and it's really expanding.
Shall we leave your contact? I think maybe it's a good time to do that as well, or however you prefer.
Yeah, if anyone is interested in transcendental meditation, it depends on where they are. They just have to go to the internet and look for, if it's in English, transcendental meditation. If they go by country, they will find they'll find it in their country. If they're in Brazil, they will look into the site of the national organization, and then they'd localize the center that is more convenient for them. So now it's very easy. If you're in London, if you are in Europe, in whatever country, in Africa, in Asia, in the United States, in South America, you will find your center in your country.
Perfect. Just
go to the website and you will find it.
Perfect. So that was Richard. Thanks very much once again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right.
Cool. Pronto.
Okay. So I hope now there's enough light to do the Portuguese.
Yeah.